Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Friday morning to you all. I hope you guys are feeling well out there this morning. I imagine most of us are, since it is Friday. At least I hope you are. But hope you guys are having a great start to your day, a great ending to your week, and a great beginning to your weekend. Got you an update on what's going to happen weather-wise between now and the next 24 hours. And we even touch past the next 24 hours for a couple regions of the country where we're expecting not really super active weather, but just maybe some eventful weather. So we'll certainly talk about that and try to figure it all out for you guys. I want to remind you all I won't have a video this evening, and I didn't have the video last night, but hope you guys are faring well out in Texas this evening. I'm sorry, this morning. As yesterday evening there was some pretty active weather. The hail in some of these storms certainly verified, and there was a wild tornado warning that went right through the Fort Worth area. Some incredible pictures that you would almost see out of a movie, except, there wasn't no destructive, huge wedge tornado that went through Fort Worth, but there was a confirmed tornado that kind of skirted through areas of Fort Worth. I mean, there was a picture of a legitimate large funnel that was hovering right over almost the skyline of Fort Worth. It was pretty wild, but hope you guys are all right out there this evening. Here I go again, this morning. I guess I got my time mixed up, but we'll just keep rolling. A lot of times I'll stop the video when I make a couple mistakes in a row like that, but we're just going to keep rolling this morning. But if you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like, and if you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put it in the comments below so I can pray over it and others can do so too. So, going forward, I'll kind of talk and do this at the same time. We look at water vapor. I don't want to jinx it and say we're about to enter a slower period, but after really over the next couple evenings, the only thing that I can really think to talk about is a storm system next week. That system that we were thinking might be an impactful event across the southeast, that is just trended all the way suppressed. Now, it could come back northwest, do something, but for now, it's not worth really talking on because it just is suppressed, and it looks like it's trended southeast enough to the point where it's not really going to do much with the weather, but we'll continue to figure it out. But we're already watching something kind of next week that could bring some severe weather. Storm Prediction Center certainly mentions it, but there's no 15% risk as of right now for your Friday morning. So, we're just going to take baby steps to that and figure it out. But for now, certainly not too crazy out there right now. But as you can tell, the atmosphere is kind of cleared out in these areas of the country. You don't see a whole lot going on here. This cold front, this is a pretty sharp cold front. It'll dramatically drop temperatures depending on where you are. And you can see the dry air where it's more of a kind of a duller color right here, really blasting in. But you got some, strong storms still firing off, around southeast Texas near Houston this morning. These will trail off across the entire Gulf Coast, bring some rain further north for areas of the southeast, mid-south, and, eventually set off as this cold air moves over these Great Lakes that really have not froze over at all. Will set off a pretty vigorous lake-enhanced kind of snow event, lake effect snow event, where you actually have winter storm watches up for, sections just south of Buffalo, and then just off the eastern shoreline of Lake Ontario, Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. You could, get over a foot of snow in certain areas. Winter storm warnings remain for northern counties of Wisconsin and the western areas of the UP and Michigan. And then we got freeze warnings reissued for Arkansas, western Tennessee, and northern Mississippi, where cold air is beginning to filter in today. Freeze watches up, same associated with the same cold air mass. So it's going to get cold again this weekend. It's going to be a cool weekend across the south. Enjoy today, for example, in the Carolinas. We'll talk about this here in a second, where it'll actually get well into the 70s. It'll feel nice out there, but tomorrow will be a kind of a different world as rain moves in, the cold air moves in behind it. But there's a slight risk for severe storms. This stretches from about the central coastline of Louisiana all the way to Tallahassee, Florida, and all the way north into kind of southern sections of Alabama. Not quite to Montgomery. Montgomery has a marginal risk, but we'll watch basically for a low-end tornado threat, maybe some water spouts to watch out for that might move on shore here in the panhandle of Florida a little bit later this afternoon. And then there's a wind threat, which is really the biggest threat with this. Damaging winds, 15% of it within 25 miles at any given point. Winds pushing 50 knots or higher. It's around 55 to 60 miles per hour. And we'll go on and jump right to that. Storms are ongoing across the Gulf Coast this morning, and these will continue, and basically they will be the worst where your best thermodynamics are. Basically, your higher temperatures, better moisture return into this area. So at this point, we're getting into about 10, 11 a.m. These storms are knocking on the door of Mobile around lunchtime today. They will start to, kind of move through Montgomery Point south into the panhandle of Florida. Damaging winds, the threat, you could have a quick spin up in some of these. You got to watch these cells that try to kind of rejuvenate this line, if you will, and might move inland. So just watch out for, certainly any kind of water spout action. We're getting into 5, 6 p.m. These are just kind of trailing basically the entire panhandle of Florida. These eventually, make it into Tallahassee probably later this evening. And certainly just some action we need to watch. But, we're not expecting a huge severe weather day by any means. More broader look at this, at the entire southeast. Rain is already moving into kind of western North Carolina to the mountains. A little bit of rain this morning for Atlanta is likely. And then another area of rain could be heavier. Will move through Atlanta, North Georgia, Central Georgia a little bit later this afternoon. Then eventually move into the Carolinas again, especially South Carolina, where Greenville, Spartanburg area for any kind of Friday evening activities could be pretty wet. So eventually make its way through Columbia, Charlotte, all the way up to Winston-Salem, Greensboro. Will make for a rainy, kind of damp Friday night if you got any activities like me and my wife do this evening. But could have another round of storms that try to fire back off here in central South Carolina. These will move on out. Maybe some lingering rain into the wee hours of the morning here in the eastern Carolinas. And then, we were watching this on the GFS. Active southern jet up here. Does this front kind of stall out and keep you guys kind of rainy for South Georgia into Florida this weekend? It's possible. It is. It's just something we have to watch. But, we're getting, kind of into the next day at that point. But the Northeast today, area of rain associated with this low pressure to deliver a stripe of snow for areas of Nebraska into the Dakotas, South Dakota into Minnesota last night. Let me know what you guys saw out there. I didn't see much, videos from up in that area or anything like that. But getting into this morning, rain pretty much covers up West Virginia, most of Virginia, Pennsylvania. This isn't going to be, heavy rain, but just light to moderate rain. This moves through New York State throughout the afternoon hours, starts to enter Vermont, New Hampshire, and this could potentially be mostly snow in the northern half of Maine, where you guys could pick up a few inches of snow. This evening, probably kind of a rainy late evening for the I-95 corridor, and then cold air immediately blast in behind it. And then this is when, as we're waking up tomorrow morning, you could get a lake effect snow event coming, off of Lake Erie, basically between Erie and Buffalo, especially in those areas, will be highly favored right in between those two towns and communities right there. And, we'll watch. This is some pretty vigorous looking snow showers. I mean, this looks like a big snow squall making its way through, kind of developing in Indiana and making its way through the entire state of Ohio tomorrow morning. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised some snow squall warnings get issued from this, because this will come through. Watch out Pittsburgh, watch out West Virginia, all the way to the southern tier of New York State early tomorrow afternoon. Big snow squall could make its way through the entire state of Pennsylvania. It'll probably lose its punch by the time it gets to the eastern portion. But then some pretty, hyper snow shower activity gets going across the Ohio Valley and the Great Lakes region. We'll get another look at that here in a second. But rainfall from this over the next 24 hours, just scattered amounts. Really, I think southern New England won't see much rain over the next 24 hours. A little bit's possible, but moisture-wise, anywhere from a quarter to maybe 3/4 of an inch of rain is possible for certain areas. Some of this will fall snow up in northern Maine. In fact, we'll look at snow for you folks up in Maine. And, northern half of Maine, 1 to 3 inches, 1 to 4 inches of snow is certainly possible. We go down here in Texas. Pretty interesting. Winter weather advisories, Fort Stockton, you got a winter weather advisory, but I really think you get south of Fort Stockton, some of these higher elevations in southwest Texas. Just winter weather advisories for now. We'll kind of look at what could happen over the next 24 to 48 hours. I think, as early as this morning, you'll start to get some snow activity, but I really think as we're getting to later this afternoon into this evening, moisture really stays confined to these southwest and southern sections of Texas, but this will fall snow. It's elevation driven. A lot of people don't realize that there's mountains in southwest and western areas, really southwest areas of Texas, where it becomes kind of the start of the Rockies, if you will. But we keep this going here. Cat's roaming around, uncaught my peripheral vision over here. It really starts snowing, I think, after midnight tonight here in those areas where they have winter weather advisories. But I'm telling you, we could switch to snow. For you folks, a little bit deeper, kind of further east in Texas, south central Texas, right in here, watch out for some snow to fall. It's snowing in Mexico, pretty wild. But remember, higher elevations in Mexico. But, you stop it here, it's about 5 a.m. Texas time out here. And, I mean, it's snowing from, just south of Fort Stockton all the way to, it's getting darn close to San Antonio at this point. Okay, very shallow, cold air. And, it's still snowing into Saturday morning. Still snowing for certain areas. And then, again, it kind of could potentially get rejuvenated for areas deeper, further south in southwest Texas. And these, I don't pretend to know every town down here in southwest Texas. But, pretty interesting event. Between now and the duration of the event from the National Weather Service, you're going for maybe a half a foot of snow in some of these higher kind of hills and elevation-driven regions out here. But, watch for a little bit of snow. It's even kind of throwing a bone here in these areas of Texas where you could get a few tenths of an inch of snow in these regions. Sorry, sneeze is trying to kick in. But interesting little event down here in southwest Texas. They're going for accumulating snow. Several inches of snow is possible in this region in mid to late March. Pretty wild to see. Up here in the north central Great Lakes region, Midwest, lake effect snow will really become enhanced as we're getting into early this afternoon. And it'll start dropping a good bit of snow. If you're bordering Lake Superior in the UP of Michigan, you'll get the most snow. But even down here in sections, you could get a little area of snow that kind of flies through northern Missouri later this evening and then eventually kind of gets going in Illinois into the overnight hours. And then I think as we're getting into the wee hours of the morning, lake effect snow starts popping off Lake Michigan also. The bands really start getting intensified off Lake Superior. And, Grand Rapids, Lansing, just really anybody in Michigan, anybody, the UP and the southern sections of Michigan can see snow over the next 24 to 36 hours. And then we watch how this band develops tomorrow morning in Indiana. This will affect Indianapolis, I think, if you wake up early in the morning, you certainly could get a band of pretty intense snow that moves through Indianapolis and really intensifies in Ohio, kind of makes its way through Cleveland sometime tomorrow morning. And, bang, look at this. As we're getting into early tomorrow afternoon, really just a huge enhancement of snow really just starts to cover up the entire Great Lakes region, Midwest, portions of the Ohio Valley. And, these could be some pretty solid snow squall action. Outside of those favored lake effect snow regions, you could get a quick inch of snow. It is certainly possible, but not showing a lot down here in Indiana, Ohio, Illinois, but certainly could get a quick dusting. It is possible that happened a few days ago with kind of a similar event, but, these sections right up here, they're going for a lot of snow just south of Lake Superior. Cold air is in place. And several inches of snow into the UP of Michigan, especially the closer you are to the lake, I think the more snow you get. But same thing with western Michigan. Some lake effect snow going, not some, a good bit for March standards. And you guys could get anywhere from 2 to 5 inches of snow down here. But you get up here, somebody can get over a half a foot of snow in northern sections of Michigan. Okay, so, same thing. You go to... The cat's being very needy right now. You go to New York State, just south of Buffalo. This favorite area right here, basically from Erie to just south of Buffalo. Anywhere from 6 to 12 inches of snow is possible. There's going to be a pretty intense band that's enhanced off the lake that's going to form in this region. And, you would think that it's November out there, or December, but here we are. Same thing up here in Watertown. Maybe even Syracuse gets a little bit of snow off this, but some lake enhanced snow off Lake Ontario also. So, man, you just want some attention, don't you? You want to see my cat? Here it is. She wants to say hey. That's Stormy right there. I know a lot of people ask to see her, but she likes to hop on my lap right midway through a video and scare the scare the mess out of me sometimes. But sometimes I don't even know she's at my feet. But the southeast will be the winner for warm weather today. Enjoy it. Because certain areas will, you'll start to get a little cloudiness and rain enters the picture. They'll kind of mess up the day, but you're going to soar into the 70s in the Eastern Carolinas and Virginia today. Even the Delmarva will get well into the 60s, maybe a 70-degree reading. Florida's will be nice today. Really, especially if you're in the peninsula, Florida, rain will be entering the Panhandle floor a little bit later, like I mentioned earlier. But, cold day everywhere else. Once you get behind this boundary, which is the cold front, very cold day. That's why you're going to add up so much snow. It's going to be snowing in very cold temperatures up here in the UP and Michigan. That's why, they're going for heavier accumulations. Definitely not lacking in a cold air. Cold day across Texas. 50s and 40s, chilly day, I would say. But, this cold front means business, guys. It's coming in, filtering some very cold air. It's going to be a cold night for a lot of people tonight. Really looking ahead, I'm not going to stay on this long, but we get past this system. It doesn't even really show it anymore, but this is kind of the system right into here that we were, talking about a few days ago that could do something, but man, it has just fully gotten squashed. Doesn't look like it's going to be an event at all, but this is the next probably storyline. A low pressure will eject off an upper trough, kind of shoot through the middle of the country. This will bring the possibility for some severe weather somewhere in here. But, it looks like a weaker low pressure, but here it is. Maybe another one develops here, and then as we're getting into kind of, I would say Thursday maybe, sometime late this coming work week, we watch for our next system. Not a lot of cold air with this at all. But this could be a big system, big rain maker, maybe a severe weather maker, but we'll watch this. But I can tell you, I'm not sure what the second half of March is going to do. I know that second half of March is a totally different animal than the first half of March. First half of March, still very favorable for snow for a lot of areas. But once you start to get to that second half of March, things really begin to shift to more of a spring type pattern. That's always been my kind of a tipping point from one season to the other. But, of course, far northern areas continue to see snow sometimes. But hey, that's all I got, guys. I'll be with you guys tomorrow morning. Remember, I won't have a video tonight. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Have a great Friday and a great start to your weekend. Talk to you soon.